What's up, homegirls? ¿Qué onda, morras? Buenos días, tardes, o noches, since I don't know when you're listening to this. I hope your day is going good, or at least better than yesterday. Welcome to Te Crees Muy Muy, the podcast para las homegirls who are healing, growing, and figuring life out, sin plan, con flow. I'm your host, aka your Chicana homegirl from Cali, Stephanie, and as always, muchísimas gracias for pressing play and hanging out with me. And your reminder of the day, morra, el tren no se fue, tú vales oro, no migajas. Agárrate las pestañas y vámonos. Now, let's get into it. What's up, morras? Welcome back to Te Crees Muy Muy podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie. Welcome to episode 23. Damn, that's crazy. Before I get started, life has been lifing for me. These last couple of weeks have been crazy, and this was supposed to drop yesterday, and today is Tuesday. A little bit like, it doesn't matter what time. But yeah, it is what it is. So let me go ahead and get started. Actually, hold on. Before I get started, thank you so much to everybody who follows the page on TikTok and on Instagram and the support. I really appreciate that. Even you quiet lurkers who don't comment but either save or like the post or both. I see y'all. Thank you. So I had posted yesterday and a couple days before about Emma Grede. And for y'all who don't know who she is basically a British entrepreneur. She's the co-founder of Skims with Kim Kardashian and the co-founder of Good American con la Chloe. She's the first Black woman on Shark Tank, and she just dropped her first book, que se llama Start With You, April 14th. So that was like a week ago or so. Today's the 21st, and she's been everywhere. She's doing the Today Show, the Breakfast Club, Wall Street Journal, Lewis House, CNBC, to name a few. And the internet is divided. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this episode no se va really to 100% talk about her, but she brings up a lot of stuff that I wanted to say because I feel like the Latina voice is missing in this conversation. And I don't know if it's missing because of the fact that we still don't have a lot of like big representation, or maybe people, Latinas, are talking about her and I just missed it, right? So yeah, the reason that the internet is divided with her is because they're either I've seen a mix, and slowly people are talking about her more and more. There's a lot of people who disagree with her. There's a lot of people that agree with her, and there's very few in between. I feel like I'm in between, but here's, like I said, what caught my attention is que no había Latinas talking about this, right? And I don't know if it's, like I said, because we're just not in that conversation, or no sé por qué. So I want to do a quick breakdown of the controversial takes que ella tiene so you guys can kind of get a clue of what she's saying. She says she spends maximum 3 hours with her kids, and the rest of the day is basically her running her empires and everything that she does. She has a nanny, she has a chef, she has a chief of staff at home, etc. She says working from home kills your career. You need to be in the office to get that promotion, to get seen. She acknowledges that she has privilege, but she never fully unpacks it. And this is where the big controversy is coming, because basically the first part that she really doesn't talk about, in a sense, is that her husband was her first investor. Basically, he's a Swedish entrepreneur and already has hella connections to investors, global brands, celebrity networks, right? So eso es lo que se está peleando la gente. So people say that she is self-made, other people no. And I feel like so here's the thing, because ella se casó with that dude, she was given a lot of opportunity, right? Because she was brought into rooms that normally the average Joe, the average Jane, whatever you could say, no va a tener nunca oportunidades to be in, right? Because she married into that. But here's the other take that I don't see a lot of people talking about. When she's in the room or in those rooms, she has to know what the fuck to say and what to do. Because también, yeah, she has privilege, pero si la morra, la señora, no sabe qué decir, she's just going to be seen as, la esposa de este güey. You know what I mean? Like, what is she doing with the opportunities that she's given, right? Because yes, she does have a lot of privilege, because she's way more ahead, or we're never going to really see ourselves in those rooms, right? In a sense. And I think that's where a lot of people are upset, especially Black women, because she doesn't really talk about the privilege que tiene. And I partly agree with what she says, but then there's other side of the internet that says she's not talking to us regular folks. She's talking to these women who want to build multi-million empires, who are really ambitious, because here's the other take. She centers money. And a lot of women don't do that. She was talking to Louis at house, and she was saying about how her husband has all these conversations with his homeboys about investing, about crypto, about this and that she's never had those type of conversations with women. Y que una vez she went and she had a talk. She was like in a panel, and the panel was about money. And then eventually like a older lady came up to her, and they're like, "Oh, Emma, you did such a good job, but you talk too much about money." And that she kind of just gave her this look, and she was kind of like, well, bro, like this like panel is about money, right? Y sí es cierto, because especially in the Latino community, we don't really talk about money because there's, I feel like a stigma attached to it, because no puedes hacer muy envidiosa, you don't want people in your business, or because, I hate to say this, because it is a stereotype, but partly is true. A lot of our relatives who are back in Latin America, wherever you're from, they have this conception that once you come over here, like you're making bank. A lot of people don't see a reality that para venir a trabajar en los Estados Unidos, aquí le tienes que chingar. Like money doesn't come and grow on trees, right? So a lot of people don't like to share what they make, which is fine. You don't talk about money with the other homegirls, because I feel like there is that judgment of kind of like, she makes hella money and no lo sabe cuidar. Or she makes hella money, and we always attribute it to the way you dress and the way you look and the fancy things that you do or don't have, because it goes back to capitalism, right? Y dices, it kind of, because I've like have seen clips and read stuff that people, they do judge you of how you spend your money. So maybe that's why we don't talk about money and stuff. But because también hay esa mentalidad of being jealous of opportunities. There's a lot of people who feel que el sol sale para todos, or todas, I should say. And there's other people that are kind of like, no, because they feel like if you talk about money or if you talk about opportunities, you're going to lose it and someone else te lo va a quitar. Because at the end of the day, society does pin us women against women, right? And this is, oh, by the way, like I have a little guide. I don't have a script for this. So if I sound all over the place, sorry. But she was saying all this, and I was like, well, I can see her point of view, because here's the thing. A lot of people don't like when they say that we all have the same 24 hours, right? And I think that needs to get rephrased into we all have 24 hours, but that's it. Some of us are not working. Some of us have a chronic illness. Some of us are on disability. Some of us are on permanent disability. Some of us don't even qualify for this. Some of us are unemployment. Some of us are single moms. Some of us are married and have kids, married, don't have kids. So we're all over the place, right? Some of us estamos sufriendo a solas, but we just don't say anything because maybe we don't have like a support system, right? Mental health issues, substance abuse issues, lo que sea. So we all don't spend the 24 hours the same, right? And this isn't about hay que chingarle más y échale ganas type of stuff, right? Because a lot of us are doing that and we're just not seeing the fruit of our works right now. Or maybe le vas a chingar and you're never going to see it, unfortunately. That's just how life is sometimes. But what I think it's interesting is that I didn't see her go on any Latina podcasts. And I was like, I don't know if esa señora can relate. And I know it's really specific because obviously she's not a first-gen Latina and she's not Latina in general. But I was like, and some of y'all may think, well, no shit, she's going to all these Black platforms, which makes sense, right? But she should branch out. También, I could be wrong. I think she went on a couple of white spaces and I think she went on a couple Asian, pero que digas Latinas, I didn't see any. And like I said, if I'm wrong, next episode or I'll post it on social media, be like, hey, me equivoqué. She actually did go on this podcast, check it out. But I think it sucks because, for example, let's just say that, and also too, when she talks about being ambitious and having ambition, luego it gets seen as a negative thing. We all can be ambitious in different ways. But I think she, like, for example, when I think of an ambitious person, I think there's two aspects. Ambitious, like in a good way, that the more money you make, the more people you can help. And there's ambitious cuando pisoteas a everybody. And you are unethical, you are being shady, estás haciendo tranza to get ahead, right? And granted, when we only see little bits and pieces on Instagram or on social media per se, right? So like I said, I think the issue with her not being on Latina podcasts is because of the fact that I feel like a lot of us don't know who she is. Her world is fashion, corporate, brick and mortar, investor back. That's not most of our realities. Ojo, I'm not saying que no hay Latinas in those sectors, right? Pero a lot of like, for example, when I posted on TikTok que si sabían quién era, like I had a couple of people reply and everybody said no, que no sabían. So I replied and I said, oh, she's behind Skims and Good American. And even then, like, if you don't like the Kardashians or you do, or you don't support those products or sí or no, it's not going to matter because I say go and check it out. I don't think anybody went and checked it out, right? Also, también, she never, like I said, she never came to our spaces. She went everywhere else but here. And third, I'm going to be honest because this needs to be said. There is anti-Blackness in the Latino community. Some people just don't care because she's a Black woman. And that's a conversation that we need to have, but not right now, right? And fourth, her advice is geared to a very specific women, the super ambitious corporate climbing that wants to make millions type, and not all Latinas see themselves there. A lot of people are saying that this is like from the 2010s boss babe culture revamped into right now. A lot of women feel that she is just talking to white women. Or because someone had made a good point, I feel like they said that the women who are already building and are close to being her status or almost there are not going to be listening to her podcast or her books because of the fact that they're like what she's saying isn't news to them. And a lot of people are also saying that she's saying what white men say. That because how come and here's another point too that I think it's interesting and I think it's very true, is that white men say this all the time. But she's getting backlash because she's a woman and because she's Black. And I fully 100% agree with that. And I was getting takes from all these different people who were talking and creators and stuff. And it's very true because a lot of people, she had said in one of her podcasts that she did, that she has had hundreds and hundreds of women working for her, etc. And a lot of girls were saying, well, where are those women? How did you get them? Did you help them? Did you help them get where they wanted to get? And nobody has asked her that. Like, ¿dónde están todas esas mujeres that you've helped, right? And here's the thing. The real privilege conversation for First-Gen Latinas. This episode isn't really about Emma. She's just opening the door for a bigger conversation. But we have a complicated relationship when it comes to privileges too. Let's keep it real as First-Gen Latinas, and nobody really talks about it in a sense. There is this space between being First-Gen Latinas that we don't really have a roadmap, right? We have more than our parents ever had, but we have way less than Emma Grede. And both things are true at the same time, and it's confusing and lonely. For like an example, I was the first one to graduate from college in my family. Even though I have an older sister, I have two younger sisters, right? And not college isn't for everybody. If I could do it over again, I don't know if I would do it, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to lie and sit here and say that it didn't feel great to accomplish something, right? Having my degree in the criminal justice area did open a lot of doors. For example, state positions, city positions and stuff like that to be able to test because I have a bachelor's degree. But other than that, I haven't been able to find work in the criminal justice area porque no tengo la experiencia. So basically that degree is just collecting dust in a sense, right? I was the first one to ever go to Europe y lo hice sola, and I flew business first class. Me costó my left liver and my arm and part of my toes, but I have no regrets because it taught me a lot, right? Y también also too that a lot of you guys I feel can relate we hit a lot of those milestones, whatever your milestones or goals are, but life keeps going, right? Nobody really gets it, and your parents are proud, but they fully don't understand. So when I'm online watching Emma talk about proximity to power, and I'm like, okay, well, I did everything right, quote unquote. So how come it doesn't feel like it's enough, right? And like I said, a lot of us les estamos chingando to whatever our dreams and goal is. But I think a lot of us also have in the back of my mind que le podemos chingarle, que le podemos echar ganas. And we can have the support of everyone or do it alone with no support. But at the end of the day, we also know too that we could do our best and maybe it doesn't pan out. And I also think, and this came to me yesterday, that, okay, so I'm 23 episodes in, right? And I think too, it depends también cómo ves tú la vida and your mentality and how you are as a person. Because I admit it right now que yo soy a veces bien atrabancada. And sometimes I jump into shit and then I'm like, bro, I should have took my time to research more, right? Because of, like, for example, my struggles compared to other people, I know may sound dumb, but at the same time, I'm not trying to compare, pero ahí les va. Like, for example, I'm trying to do this whole entrepreneur and by myself, right? And ojo, I'm not even saying that I'm an entrepreneur and stuff. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I've sold 4 journals. I've, obviously because I use Beacons takes a cut, like a really small cut, right? And that's fine because it's super easy to set up. Y yo hice lo que tuve que hacer ya, right? I've made about $65. I launched this podcast the first week of December of 2025. And we're in the 3rd week of April 2026. So ponle, give or take, about maybe 1 journal every 6 weeks, give or take. And that's it. I think I sold 1 this month and stuff, right? And how can I say this? Like I said, soy bien atrabancada, right? And the reason that I think that I feel like this hurriness is because of my chronic illness that I have. I came to realize, and it's okay, and I'm sorry because I'm going to be all over the place, but everything kind of connects, so téngame paciencia. When I had therapy I decided to take this whole month off of therapy, and my therapist was fine with it. She was cool with it, and we're going to reconnect next month. And I told her, I was like, I'm not working right now. Let me just figure things out. She's like, okay. I came to the conclusion that maybe for the rest of the year, depending, I'm probably just going to take contract work. Because sometimes these flare-ups me duran a week, me duran 2 weeks, a whole month, or sometimes I don't even get them, right? And for me to find regular work, and then I don't have the option of, for example, I no me siento bien, right? I'm going to go home and sleep, or not even sleep, just lay down. I can't do that. A regular job no te va a soportar eso. And I get it too. I get it. I used to be a recruiter and I get it, right? And what do I have to do? Just push back. I've been like this for 10 years. It is what it is, right? And it sucks because vas manejando. Shout out to all the girls who have chronic illness and the invisible chronic illness que no se ve in a sense, right? We all know at times what can trigger us and it is what it is, right? There's a lot of frustration behind that. There were times, y'all, when I would be driving about an hour to work each way que me sentía tan mal. Y pues ni modo a chingarle. Life isn't going to stop, right? So this is why a veces me atrabanco when I'm trying to do things for the podcast. And I haven't even really made any money if you really think about it. So when I hear Emma talk about some stuff, I was just like, no, bro. I'm not saying that I worked for this big ass corporation y que Apple and Google nada que ver, but I did work for a corporation. And what she describes in a way I kind of did. Yo le chingaba. I was hourly. I was never salary, even though I was a temp working inside a corporate office, right inside of a staffing agency. And a lot of stuff was my choice. Yo le chingue hard. I never really got the promotion. Don't get me wrong, those paychecks were nice, right? Because I worked a lot of overtime, and then me descansaron, and then nada que ver. And I came to realize, I was like, nah, fuck that. It's just not worth it. Y es okay, I'm not hella ambitious, but it took me a while to really treat that temp job as a temp job. And I jump into things and I'm like, I hope this sticks, instead, etc. Right? So when she talks about being ambitious, all of us have different levels. And I'm just sitting here and I was like, well, yeah, dude, si yo me hubiera casado con a dude that opened up hella doors, well, of course it might be easier for me because ya tengo like what, think about it as race. Emma started with all of us in a sense. And then she was given the opportunity to do una vuelta, or a lap and a half, and then we got to go. You get me? So I was like, okay, some stuff that I do agree with is that she said that when women talk about money, like it's taboo and stuff. I definitely 100% agree with her. And I do think that we should put money in the center, because the more money you make, the more people you can help. And I fully 1,000% agree with that. Especially for people who want to do good, impactful work in the community, work for nonprofits. You can totally center money. And if you center money, you can help more people. The more money that you make, and it's true, you can help more people, right? So when it comes to me and doing all this podcast and everything, it's so frustrating sometimes because you don't know, like, especially like on TikTok, you never want to rely on social media to be your whole funnel system, because el día que se acabe TikTok, el día que se acabe Instagram, ahí se acabó todo, right? You need to have an email list, so you own that email list. And it's hard because here's the thing. I know that I don't represent all First-Gen Latinas, right? Obviously, because I'm not Dominican, I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm not Salvadoreña, right? And even me being Chicana, I don't represent all Chicanas. Morras, homegirl, are you still struggling to tell no to your parents and set boundaries? And are you feeling behind in life? I should be married by now. I should have kids, or I should be further in life. Check this out. I literally made something for y'all of free boundary scripts and el journal de mis life shoulds. Check them out. Todo está en mi link en mi bio. And I know that as being First-Gen Latinas, there's a lot of stuff as Latinas that we can agree on, but there's a lot of stuff that we don't agree on because obviously our parents are from different countries in Latin America and stuff. And you all are quiet lurkers. Like, no me dicen what you guys want me to talk about. And I'm not even saying that I'm an expert in everything, right? You know me dicen, and it's so hard. Like that envidiosa post, y'all, that when I recommended the TV show on Netflix, that's been my biggest post, and I wasn't even going to post it. So when I saw it, I was like, what the fuck? This is so weird, right? But I don't want to turn into that. I don't want to turn into like a meme page, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what this podcast is about, right? And I also say this, and I've said this multiple times, I don't want my page either to turn into something that, as First-Gen Latinas, that we're always blaming our parents, the negativity and anything like that. But I think those are important topics to talk about. The important topics are about setting boundaries, because the analytics are telling me this, right? Setting boundaries in a Latino household, right? The frustration and the envy about feeling behind, people making comments, que cuando te vas a casar, when are you going to have a baby, etc., right? And I made that free boundaries guide for y'all. I've only 4 people have gotten it. And I'm like, interesting. I'm like, because there's some stuff that I have to do research, right? Because obviously I'm not a mental health professional, and I always say that, and I have to be careful. So I feel que yo se las pongo en la charola plata, the information. I'm doing the research for you guys. And I feel like sometimes you guys don't care. So I'm like, okay. So, it would be helpful if you guys went on TikTok and say, hey, Morra, talk about, or if you don't want to DM me, because I'm also aware that sometimes I talk about deep, heavy stuff, that you guys no me van a poner a empezar su chisme about your family in the comments. I truly understand that. And I did get some comments that these episodes were too short, but I don't want to pass half an hour, because then after that, I'm going to be rambling like I'm doing right now. Right? But doing this entrepreneurship on yourself is hard. And I'm not even saying that I'm really making any money. Okay, so ahí les va. Like, back to this. So just because we do everything quote unquote right doesn't guarantee anything. We were told to go to school, to get a degree, to work hard, and you'll be successful. And obviously that's not the case, right? A lot of us did that, and we still have the debt sitting there like myself. I'm still trying to figure shit out, and it's super duper hard with an illness on top of it. And I'm not saying these are all excuses, but it's la verdad. I've been like this for 10 years. No doctors have been really able to help me. Y gracias a Dios, I'm a believer that I'm not how I was at the beginning when I first got sick. Because, I was, real talk, I was slowly dying because I didn't have any answers. We're still building in a way without a safety net, whether you're going to school, whether you're working a regular 9 to 5, whether you're trying to be an entrepreneur, or your entrepreneurship, whatever you're doing is working, but we still don't have a safety net in a sense, right? And nobody's 24 hours looks the same. We all have the 24 hours, but what fills those 24 hours is completely different. The single 30 plus First-Gen Latinas who is building completely alone, right? No nanny, no investor, still helping her parents, still navigating family dynamics and expectations. And that shit is hard. And I'm not even, and then in that example, I didn't even include the women who are married, who are kids, or the ones who are divorced with kids and navigating that, or the ones who have, or the ones who are divorced, single mom with no support from anybody, and they don't have a good family dynamic, right? Emma's advice hits different when you're that woman, right? So also too, the guilt of having what others don't. So here's the other side though. Some of us do have privilege and we don't acknowledge it. Maybe it's consciously or unconsciously, right? The privilege of time. I have it right now and it's real because I'm in between jobs right now, right? The privilege of rest, taking a mental health break without losing your income. Not all, but a lot of us, you can get on temporary disability and stuff. And I know that's a process. Or take a leave of absence and your job is covered for a certain amount of time if your job offers that. But I think they all have to offer it. I'm not sure. And we feel guilty about it because of the way we were raised, right? In the Latino culture, there's this thing with suffering mentally, no pain, no gain. You have to struggle to overcome it. If you didn't struggle, it doesn't count. Like, for example, ahí les va. And see, this is why I'm saying that I'm all over the place, but this is me being raw without having a script, or else I feel it feels a little bit boring sometimes. Ahí les va. Like the whole Ozempic conversation. Whether you're pro or against it, it doesn't really matter, because ahí les va. If you don't lose weight without suffering for it, then did it really count, right? You see all these people talking shit about women or even men, but mostly women that go on Ozempic and they lose a lot of weight. And a lot of them did change their eating habits and started going to the gym. A lot of them didn't. They lost a lot of weight y les quedó like flabby skin y se fueron to get surgery. I think where people get mad is that they hop on Ozempic and then they start losing weight and then they start going to the gym and eating better. But then they start trying to become an influencer based on the fact that they lost weight, but they don't include how they did it on Ozempic. It's kind of like the whole getting a BBL. And then you're not trying to be a fitness influencer and you're like, no, you got surgery. And there's nothing wrong with getting surgery. Cada quien con su cuerpo, right? But say the whole truth. But there's also this mentality in the Latino community, like del sufrimiento. A lot of it I know comes from religion. And I'm not saying everybody's Catholic, but majority are, right? Like the whole por mi culpa, por mi gran culpa type of stuff, right? And like this whole que when it comes to religion, like you don't deserve it and stuff. But that's a story for another day. Because I see it a lot that I feel, because also too, the other portion of it is instant gratification, right? Que you're doing everything correctly y quieres que pasen las cosas. And sometimes it doesn't work like that, right? And I think that mentality keeps us small, especially as women, right? We don't talk about what we do have because we're afraid of being judged. So for example, let's just say this podcast was starting to make me money, whatever it may be. And I went online and I was like, you guys can do it, but it's going to take time and dedication. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm making $15,000 a month. You guys are, I know, not you guys, but I know people, especially the men. And that's what pisses me off. A lot of the time it's men envidiosos that go, oh, pinche vieja, her podcast sucks. How can she be making $15,000, $20,000 a month? Esto y que el otro. And I know some of you guys are going to be like, who cares, to not turn off the hate? But it does happen because I think there's also a lot of envidia in the Latino community, but a lot of people don't talk about it. we're afraid of making someone else feel bad in a sense, right? Or they talk shit to you and you te haces como chica. And as women, I think that we need to unlearn that. And it is hard work, but you have to do it in a sense, right? Oh, we're afraid of sounding ungrateful for our parents' sacrifice. And this is something that I've noticed that what I had posted this in one of the TikTok posts, a clip a couple weeks ago, when I said that I didn't find if people can help me understand why does everything always come back to being ungrateful for a parent's sacrifice. Like, for example, putting boundaries. And some people, even your own family members, might be like, after all your parents did for you and that's how you treat them, what the fuck does that have to do with anything, y'all? What is our parents' sacrifice? And ojo, this is going to be a controversial take. Some of those sacrifices that our parents made, they did it not knowing, because that's a strong word, but a lot of those sacrifices that the parents made, they made them out of fear as well, right? They made sacrifices that they didn't know whether they were or weren't going to work, right? But those were their choices as well. So I think because that, I feel that sometimes that gets thrown out a lot. After everything your parents sacrifice, and this is how you work with them, I can't believe que no los quieres hacer esto y hacer otro. And you're like, dude, it's boundaries, right? Because in a Latino household, like I said before, we're not taught boundaries, and then you put them up and they get freaked out. They're like, ¿Qué está pasando? Do you hate me? Etc. Like, here's a boundary that I put with my parents. I don't care if I am or not working. I told them that I'm no longer going to take them to the airport during the week to go to Mexico, not unless it's a real emergency. And at this point, I can't really see an emergency happening because both of my abuelitos and abuelitas on both sides have passed away. Not unless I have an uncle that lives in Mexico on my dad's side, and I think a couple of cousins and stuff on my mom's side. Not unless one of them died, that's a true emergency, I'll take them. But other than that, I said, no, I'm not taking you guys during the week. And my mom's like, oh, well, if you can't take us, then we'll go on the bus. I was like, okay, cool, perfect. I'll take it to the bus stop. And then I know some of you guys might be like, dude, pues que te cuesta llevarlos? My time, in all honesty. And I know some people be like, damn, that sounds hella harsh, but not really. Because here's the thing that made me realize this. Last month, when I was still at my job, I had a commute close to an hour each way, depending on traffic, right? So one way there, one way back. So I already had commuted to work and back. And then 2 or 3 hours later, I had to drive my ass to Oakland, drop him off, and come back again, right? And I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. So I took him or whatever. I dropped them off, and then I stay in park and call just in case their maletas are too heavy. If you know, you know. And then I was just waiting there. Luckily, I dropped them off kind of early, and they pasaron. Everything was fine. And then I was like, I can't believe this. Like, gas is hella high. I had a full tank. Now I have half and all this shit. And I told my parents. And this is what's funny is that I first told my sisters. And I told them this. And I had to tell them, like, hey, I'm not mad. But I was like, hey, I always say this when I'm going to put a boundary. I say, hey, I made the executive decision. I'm not mad or anything. I'm no longer taking parents during the week to the airport. And my sisters are cool with it. I'm like, if you guys want to, go for it, but I'm not going to. So this time when I booked their tickets, they already knew. So if it means that they're going to have to go, like, let's just say they wanted to go on a Wednesday or even Thursday, they're either going to have to go Saturday of that week or Saturday before. So it might add a couple days to a week. I'm like, it is what it is. You guys love going to Mexico, so I don't think you should be complaining in a sense, right? And they're like, okay, yeah, cool. And they were fine with it. So, yeah. Anyways, back to this. Our community doesn't always have our back. And there's the support conversation. Latinos always don't support other Latinos. And we need to say that out loud, right? So, for example, ahí les va. For example, there is a panaderia. And they decided that they want to do gourmet conchas, right? The Mexican bakery opens and they're charging, let's just say $30 for 10 conchas as an example, right? Our own people are going to be dragging them. They're going to be like, pinches conchas are hella expensive, por qué, blah, blah, blah. But those same people will wait will wait 30 plus minutes minimum and pay $20 for a fucking burrito at Chipotle without blinking. And Chipotle is not real Mexican food if you want to get technical, right? We will support the corporation before we support our own. Y es la verdad. But at the same time, and this has been going on TikTok and on Instagram, and I wanted to touch on it real quick. They are talking about like local coffee shops, pero también a veces la cagan, y'all. Like they are open weird hours. They want to charge you $10 to $15 for a coffee, and sometimes that doesn't even taste good. And you want to support, you really do, pero no sabe bueno. And then on top of that, they still want to ¿cómo se llama? They want a tip. So it's like a double-edged sword. Like you really do want to support, but then you're like, bro, like, come on, you know? And there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, for example, let's just say I opened up a bakery and I'm charging $40 for a dozen cupcakes that are organic, gourmet. There's nothing wrong with being, damn, that's hella expensive, but you know what? Those are not for me, and leave it alone. But no, you have to go onto the page, talk shit, pinches cupcakes cuestan $6 each, get it. Why do you care? If you know you're not going to buy them, don't fucking compare them. Don't compare them to the ones you like and to support. How many people are supporting Crumble? And I'm going to be honest with you, Crumble's not even that good. I've tried a couple things and granted, I know I have a sensitive stomach. They made my stomach hurt. No están buenas, but you see hella people on their nuts eating that stuff. Right? And sometimes it's not just about the money. It's about not believing our people are worthy of that level. Let's keep it real. And it's hard to elevate when your own community doesn't believe in what you're building. A lot of the times, and I've seen this, there's a lot more at times, there's a lot more white people supporting Latino businesses. There's a lot, and granted, I'm not black, right? But there's a lot more at times white people supporting black businesses. Not all the time, ojo, but there are times, right? And it's hard to elevate, like I said, when your own community doesn't believe in what you're building. My parents don't fully understand the podcast, the brand, the vision. Like my parents just don't get it, and that's fine. I don't expect them to que lo entiendan. So I kind of have to tell my dad, oh, es como un programa de radio. And he's like, okay, pero, and you could tell he's just looking at me like, what the fuck? And then I was like, por eso tengo el sign en la puerta que dice do not disturb para que no me toquen, porque estoy grabando y después tengo que ponerlo en pausa y después ya me distraí, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay. And they were both fine with those boundaries, right? People talk shit instead of sharing your work. A lot of us have broken dreams that nobody will ever know about. We had great ideas that died because of no support, no money, or no room. And that's what I don't think Emma Grede understands. Because she did say, because I did saw a whole episode about what she was on. She talked to Lewis House or something like that. And she was saying that she does have like a lot of stress, that she can't, like executive decisions, cosas muy importantes, she can't hand those off because she's the one that's getting the emails where people are pissed off. ¿Qué está pasando? Ella tiene que contestarle a la gente, tiene que dar results. And a lot of people don't understand that. And there's a lot of women who work corporate who don't want to climb the corporate ladder. And that's okay. You know, like there's some of us who just want to receive a paycheck and go home. Be able to make enough money to pay our bills and maybe go on a vacation. Right? So here's where I land on Emma Grede. She's not the enemy. She's worked hard. Her advice does have merit for a specific woman with specific access. But she's not talking to us, and that's okay as long as we start talking about each other, right? Because the First-Gen Latina privilege conversation is one nobody is having, not the Emma kind of privilege, the complicated in between, nobody claps for you kind of way. The kind where you're proud of how far you've come and exhausted by how far you still have to go. And still doing it sola. That's our reality, and it deserves to be named out loud. So if this episode hit different, share with your First-Gen Latina who needs to hear it. So I know this was all over the place and I'm already at 40. I might edit this or I might not. Fuck it, I might just send it. But I think this is an important conversation to have because privilege for us hits different when you're first gen, right? And we all know that we do have different privilege compared to our parents. We all know that and stuff. And sometimes we do feel guilty and we do feel bad. But then again, there's a lot on our shoulders that other people may not have, right? And my first gen Latina Chicana experience may not be the same as a Puerto Rican or as a Dominican. And like I said it before, we do share a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that separates us. But anyways, I hope you all like this episode. I know it was all over the place, but I felt like it was really organic and I know that I was all over the place. My bad. I already said that, but still. Don't forget, link in bio. Ahí está. I made the scripts for y'all and the journal's still available. It's there. It's $15. Don't forget to follow the TikTok page and Instagram. Give it a share, comment, follow, share the profile with other homegirls. Let's keep building this community and I will catch y'all next time. Bye.